This video was brought to you in part by the supporters of the AMTV Patreon. Thank you. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and welcome back to my Doctor Who Flux review series. We're on Chapter 2, War of the Sontarans, and boy, there's a lot to talk about. First of all, apologies this didn't come the night of broadcast, or even the day after. This is coming a few days after. I was away, I was actually in London, down at the BFI, watching the animated premiere of Galaxy 4, which was really cool. I got to take my girlfriend, Rebecca, which was amazing. She loved it as well. Got to meet so many fellow creatives. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm really happy to have done it. So, sat in a travel lodge, me and Becca watched War of the Sontarans, and what did we think? On the whole, we really liked it. Spoilers, this review is going to be spoiler heavy for probably both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, just so you're aware. The Chapter 1 cliffhanger, obviously with the Flux coming towards the TARDIS, everyone was speculating, what's it going to be? Is it going to be Carvanista that saves them? Is it going to be the TARDIS's HAD software, moving it around? There were so many speculative theories, but in the end, the Doctor and friends wake up in the Crimean War, and hilarity ensues. Well, not quite hilarity, but you know what I mean. The opening, though, was in a little black and white shot of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor seeing almost like a disheveled, broken house before she wakes up in the Crimean War. Now, this is actually causing a lot of theories about what's known as the Lung Barrow theory. Now, for those who don't know, Lung Barrow was a new adventure, a book that was published way back in the mid-90s, and it basically attempted to explore a lot of Time Lord mythos, like the Doctor's origins, his house, I believe, his family, the fact that Time Lords are all cousins, and there's this thing called looms. There's a lot to it, right? And I think you can go and find what it's all about online. So there's now speculation that Chris Chibnall is going to attempt to do the Lung Barrow thing. If he does, I mean, cool, yeah, let's go for it. Crazier things have happened, but yeah, no, so we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. In terms of the characters first, I just want to say Jodie Whittaker, I think this episode has been her best performance as the 13th Doctor so far. I've enjoyed her era on the whole, don't get me wrong, I don't think she's a bad actor, far from it, but just in terms of her presence, in terms of her confidence as the character, in terms of her actions, I thought she absolutely smashed it. For example, the scene where the Doctor confronts the Sontaran that's been captured and sort of manipulates him by saying, oh, the Doctor's here and the former president of Gallifrey, all that sort of stuff. That was a great scene, and also I loved every confrontation the Doctor had with the Sontarans, whether that was their leader, their subordinates, the scene on the battlefield, especially the parlay scene, was really, really cool, just sort of on that desolate and misty battlefield. You got the Doctor facing down this Sontaran. It was ace to see, and I'm really glad Jodie got this chance to really flex the acting muscles in terms of her character that she's played for a few years now. One of my favourite bits came right towards the end when, she's convinced the Sontarans to retreat and they're all going, but then the British captain decides to blow them all up anyway. And, obviously she's horrified, she's furious, and she says the line something like, "It's men like you that make me wonder why I bother with humanity." And that was such a good line. I loved it. It was such a gut punch. It channels so many things that the Doctors had before in their life. It reminded me heavily that whole ending of the end of Doctor Who and the Silurians, which, for those who don't know, is a very early Third Doctor adventure. And in that one, the Doctor, tries to convince the Silurians that they can sort of coexist with humanity, and that, peace can be achieved. And at the very end of the story, even though they've defeated the rogue Silurians, the Brigadier of UNIT decides to blow up the Silurian base, wiping them all out. And naturally, the Doctor is horrified. That's not how he would go about things at all. And back in the classic series, it doesn't really get expanded upon that much, just because of, different formats, standard of TV. But that was a very early glimpse of that attitude. If the Doctor convinces a species, an alien species, to stop being a threat or retreat or something like that, that's the route they want to go down. And then when humans come along and blow them all up, they don't like it. The Sontarans, man, that was their best TV depiction ever, I think. They've appeared on TV a handful of times. I honestly think this was their best TV appearance. They appeared as like a threat. They were intimidating, they were blood-hungry, warmongering, all the things we've been told that Sontarans are. They also had some great moments of comedy, but not necessarily at their detriment. Those who, of course, remember the Moffat era, we had Strax, who was a lovely character, great comedic relief, but because he appeared so much, you started to feel that the Sontarans were seen as somewhat of a joke, and that they couldn't really have this sort of threatening demeanor again. These ones feel threatening, like they're soaked in war, they love it, but the jokes they have are just genuinely funny, like when the leader's staring down the Doctor on the battlefield, and one of the things he says, "I wanted to ride a horse, that's one of the reasons I came to the Crimean War." That's hilarious. And I must admit, I liked seeing the honor system of the Sontarans, because it's been hinted at, but I think on TV we haven't really seen it explored that much. Like, you have the Sontaran who got captured, he returns to his comrades, and they kill him for it. It's a great shame, and you have Sontar Ho, and I must admit, I'm a little bit childish, so I did chuckle, because I thought...
He called him a hoe!
I thought, no, seeing that honor system, how the Sontarans work, is really cool, and I hope, should they come up again in the future, that we stick with, this iteration of them. I think this is the best depiction we've had. In terms of the companions, it's sort of one of those stories where they get split early on, but John Bishop as Dan, he gets a lot to do. I mean, he ends up back in Liverpool, where the Sontarans have invaded. We get to meet his mum and dad, and Dan's mum and dad, man, they are my favourite side characters from this episode. They just, again, like I said last week, having lived in Liverpool for so long and really throwing myself into the Liverpool culture and meeting all sorts of different Scouse people, these two made me laugh, because I've seen people like that. I've met people like that. Just very, very real, very, very funny. They were great. They were great characters, and I hope we do get to see more of them. I hope this isn't their only appearance in the series. Dan himself actually gets, he boards the Sontaran ship. He has some great comedy, not just chatting with the Doctor, but also with the Sontarans, trying to weasel his way out of it. We got to see Dan with the wok. Everyone said the pan, but Dan with the wok. Dan the Pan Man, Wok Man, whatever you want to call it. That was really cool too. So yeah, I did like seeing what Dan had. I do want to learn more about him though. Is he here for a wider purpose, so to speak? But yeah, we've got 4 chapters left. Maybe that will be revealed. I also want to shout out Sarah Powell as Mary Seacole. She smashed it. I mean, a lot of us already love seeing historical figures appear in Doctor Who, and in terms of this era, I enjoyed seeing Rosa depicted. Nikola Tesla was my favourite, but I think Mary Seacole's got to take it. I love how Sarah portrayed her, just being this very resourceful, very steadfast, very independent, just this amazing woman, quite frankly. This person who would go out and help people regardless of the side they fought on, regardless of what they look like. It's shown that, because she takes in the Sontaran. So I thought Sarah did a magnificent job, and it's probably my favourite historical figure depicted in the Jodie Whittaker era so far. I don't know if we're going to get any more that are fleshed out as that, but this one definitely is my favourite. And in fact, all those side characters, the British Army Captain General, whatever he was, even though he was a bit of a bad man, I thought the actor did a great job at making him very unlikable. And we know from history there were a lot of commandants like that who were just very focused on the fight and not really looking at the bigger picture. I mean, you could say that's true of all wars of the last 100, 200 years. So it was great to see those characters depicted. In terms of the wider stuff going on with the Flux, there was some really cool bits, like the Doctor not being able to find the door of the TARDIS. I'm amazed in nearly 60 years of the show, they've never explored that concept before. So it was really cool to see here early on in the episode that she can't actually get into the TARDIS. The main timey-wimey stuff, I guess, comes with the Temple of Atropos. Or Atropos. I really should have looked at which one. You'll tell me in the comments, but it's one of the two, I'm certain. But you have these triangles that are asking everyone who arrives to help repair the Mori. So you got it with Vinda, you got it with Yaz, and they don't really know what to do. But then Swarm and Azure arrive with also their big hunk of a henchman, which I believe they call Passenger. But they arrive and they're here to cause trouble. They get rid of the triangles. They gradually take out more of the Mori, causing time to get even a bit more wibbly wobbly. And I loved seeing, when the Doctor and Dan ended up back in the TARDIS, the TARDIS is, as the Doctor says, corrupted. Again, a really cool concept. We've seen glimmers of that. We've had the TARDIS dying, we've had the TARDIS being enslaved to a paradox machine, things like that. But to see it actually be corrupted and become malformed or out of the Doctor's control is a really awesome concept. And the last bit of the story, oh man, that cliffhanger. So again, if you're here, you've presumably watched the episode, but spoilers anyway. So the Doctor and Dan enter the temple, and they confront Swarm and Azure, who reveal that they've actually set up Vinder and Yaz as temporary Mori. And, you know, the effect's quite horrifying. You know, they've got things on their heads, their eyes are all like blackened around. It's a really cool effect, and it's also very horrifying to see, especially with Yaz, of course, a companion in that situation. And again, more stellar acting from Jodie. You know, she desperately wants to get Yaz out of it. This is her friend, this is someone she wants to look after, someone she cares about, and she's not able to do anything. She's at the mercy of Swarm, who then basically says, oh, well, when I click my fingers, how long do you think they'll last when all of time hits their bodies? And that sent chills down my spine, I'm not going to lie, because that is we've seen throughout the show's history what time, or the forces of time, the construct necessarily, not the planet, can do to people. So to see what that's going to be, and you know, the Doctor's pleading, she'll give him whatever she wants, and it just doesn't work, and he clicks his fingers, and there we are with the cliffhanger going into Chapter 3, which is called Once Upon Time, which makes a lot more sense. Once Upon Time presumably might mean the planet time, not necessarily the construct time. So, and I know I've seen some people already being like, oh, well, you've ruined it because in the little next time thing we see Yaz out of it, but I would have been very surprised if they completely offed her in Chapter 2 without any mention ever again. So I get what you mean. I totally get what you mean, but I didn't mind it so much. So that was like all the main bits I wanted to cover. I mean, there was so much going on. I could have gone on and on and on, but I want to try and keep these succinct. But overall, I enjoyed this even more than Chapter 1, personally. As I said, best depiction of the Sontarans on TV, best 13th Doctor performance by Jodie, absolutely. One of the best like supporting characters in Mary Seacole for this entire era. There were just so many wonderful moments, and this is exactly what Doctor Who is all about, going crazy with time, crazy with history, fighting aliens, stopping bad guys, and also I just want to say Swarm and Azure, they genuinely feel like the biggest threat we've had to the show since forever. And don't get me wrong, in Jodie's era, you know, we've had original villains like Tim Shaw, for example, of the Stenza, and he was a cool villain to begin with, but I feel by the end of it he didn't really go anywhere. The stakes never ascended, if that makes sense. They never built in terms of like what he was or what he could do. These guys, however, I mean, we saw it in Chapter 1, but even more now, especially with this cliffhanger, the stakes are like going up. Like, this is high stakes, especially with the universe already ending by the Flux. But this is what I mean. There's so much going on, so much to unpick. So yeah, it's another thumbs up from me. I'm excited to see where we're going, and hopefully the sheer quality of these first two chapters keeps its pace. The last little thing I want to talk about is, because I'm recording this later, we do have the overnight viewing figures for War of the Sontarans, which stands at 3.96 million viewers. Now, some people online, for some reason, just blatantly lie about what these viewing figures mean. 3.96 million is not the lowest overnight figures Doctor Who's ever had. That would be the Eaters of Light, which had, I think, 2.98 or 2.96 million. So it's not the lowest ever in New Who. That, if anyone tells you that, I'm afraid that's just a lie. And it's not the lowest Jodie overnights era. I think the Timeless Children might have that honour. But yeah, it's not the lowest Jodie overnights either. And, you know, I've talked about this before, and many other creatives have talked about this before, but you really have to look at the context of these things. But I might save that for maybe a future live stream, because I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, that's my sort of review on War of the Sontarans. Sorry it's been a bit scatty, obviously recording this a bit later. Things aren't as fresh. I haven't had a chance to rewatch it, and I really wanted to get this video out to you, but I've covered all the main points that I did want to talk about. So now it's up to you. Let me know if you enjoyed this little review. Please leave a like on this video, and let me know in the comments section, what did you think about War of the Sontarans? Did you really enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? And just let me know why. You know, we can keep everything civil. I'm open to hearing different opinions. If you didn't like it, that's absolutely fine. We don't need to kill each other. And please do subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. It'd be ace to have you aboard. We've got more Doctor Who stuff coming, including reviews of the remaining Flux chapters, as well as a whole host of other stuff too. I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.